Good afternoon, everybody. It is I, Stippling Vaughn, and I'm at my local dive bar working. It is a beautiful day today. So, um, Camelot debuted the Cyberfrog car at the shop, and damn, that car looks nice. Now, what was really neat was, see, I didn't know the shop that his team is working out of. I didn't know if it was like like a four-car garage or what. But I mean, that was a big ass warehouse facility he was showing, and you could see the other cars, and you could see some of the graphics on some of the cars. Like one of them had Doritos. But I'll tell you, when you see that Cyberfrog car, and you're like, "Whoa, that looks nice." And he remember because he went down to get the seat fitted for him. I'll tell you something. He is definitely going to be making an appearance with that car in Talladega. NASCAR, if NASCAR doesn't interview him and show off the car before the race, or at least mention the car uh, during the race, they're damn fools. Because that car just looks so nice. So I'm really looking forward. Remember, the race is going to be on FS1. It's next Saturday, which is, I believe, the 20th of uh, April, and it'll be at noon. So I'm going to try to watch the race. I want to, um, but I may not be able to. The reason why I may not be able to watch the race is because, yes, Danger Vanessa is absolutely correct. Miss Stipley and I are officially house hunting. We went out to see about four, I think it was four houses just this last week. We went and looked after work. So as a result of going out after work on Saturday, we didn't have any houses to view, but Miss Stippling had to catch up on house cleaning, and she is a clean freak. When she cleans, she goes full bore. And so it's not safe for me to be in the house when she's cleaning. So I had to get the hell out of Dodge. But no, I think we've got like, there's the possibility of two houses that we're going to look at Thursday. If we're not able to look at them Thursday, they've got open houses for them on Saturday. So I may not be able to watch the race. But I hope everyone's able to watch the race and everybody's going to enjoy it. Um, Remember, hey, support Camelot by watching, support him by commenting on his videos. Uh, and remember, I think Cecil's going to be down there, so make sure you follow Cecil uh, next weekend, so he can keep us updated. Cecil, take lots of videos, take lots of pictures. If you can take a video of Camelot right when he gets out of the car, if he finishes the race at the end of the race, make sure you can get a video of him getting out of the car right away. Okay, because that's when you're going to catch him at the most raw of emotions. So you got your homework, Cecil. But uh, but no. So I may not be able to watch the race. I hope to. If I am able to watch the race, I'm sure I will do a short video clip of me watching her on the TV here at the bar. So, but no, she was like you said, on Saturday she had to catch up her house cleaning. Plus, she wanted to get some overtime in at her job. So I had to get the hell out of Dodge. It was not safe for me to be in the house. Guys, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So here, there was a one-day Comic Con up in Lehigh Valley, and so I'd found out about this show on Thursday night, and I just made a remark about it, and Miss Stipley was like, "Well, where is this show?" And I go, "It's in Lehigh Valley." And she goes, "That's like an hour and a half away from us." And she goes, and I go, "Okay." And she's like, why don't, and she goes, should there be a lot of artists there? And I'm like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of artists. And I'm rattling off, like, it's got Kyle Baker there. It's going to have Prentice Rollins, uh, Kevin Conrad, Glenn Whitmore, and she's like, these are guys you haven't met, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't met most of these guys, and she's like, how much is the show? And I go, it's $10. She's like, honey, you gotta go, and I know exactly what she was saying. She was basically, get the hell out of the house. You're gonna be annoying and piss me the hell off. You need to leave. So I was like, okay, honey, bye. I love you. So Friday after work, I went through, pulled out the books that I wanted to have signed, and then I went up to the show. And I'll tell you something, I'm glad I went. First and foremost, the guys that put on the Lehigh Valley show, they put on a hell of a show. Very good show. It was at the uh, uh, Allentown Fairgrounds. And when you go in there, they're like the main building is where they have the farmers market, and it's a packed parking lot. And you're like, wow, this is a hell. And first, you pull in, you don't know that I didn't know that they had a farm show for a farmers market. And I'm like, wow, this parking lot is packed. And then I'm going along, and I'm like, people are leaving the show, but they're carrying like bags of food and vegetables. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, creeping along, and I'm coming to the end of the building, and I'm like, is it at the other end? Did I miss it? And I spotted this couple. They're dressed in steampunk, and they were walking away from the building towards this other building. And then when I got to the end of the building where the stop sign was, I could see the marquee of that building. It said Comic Con. So I'm like, okay. And I'll tell you, remember how Vanessa last night on the chat, she was talking about how she went to a show and it was kind of like a yard sale slash garage sale slash swap meet, the one she went to. It was a Comic Con, but yet they only had like 4 vendors with comics. Everyone else had like basically just pop culture stuff. Probably had one person there selling nothing but Funko Pops. Um, this show that I went to was a Comic Con. The majority of every single table was comics, and you had some guys there that had like the high value end. You had some guys there with just bronze and silver comics. Some guys were just completely slab books. And then of course you had the other guys where it's like you would have like I would say a 20 by 20 booth. So they basically had a little island of nothing but uh, books, and they were all listed. They all had signs that all the books in the island were $1. So it's a real Comic Con. Um, like I said, I went for the artists. I'm glad I went. The 3 artists that I want to talk about, well, actually, there's 4. One was John Workman. John Workman, we all know him as the letterer for a number of years. He does a lot of Walt Simonson stuff. Most of Walt Simon's iconic runs were lettered by John Workman. And you can tell, okay, John Workman, and I said this to him, is he provides comic books with their soundtrack. You can feel the intensity of the explosion. So maybe he's more of an FX department, FX as in sound effects. But he provides that, and like I said, the sound, as I like to say, the soundtrack of comics. He does such a great job, and the books that I had him sign, I told him, I said, specifically the reason why you're signing these books is of because of your work, not because of the artwork, not because of the story, but because of your lettering. Which I know and I always tell him that when I have him sign stuff, and he's very appreciative of stuff. Where it's like why I'm having him sign the book had nothing to do with like this was like the marquee event of the Fantastic Four or the marquee event of Walt Simonson's run on the Thor. No, it's because of his sound effects. His sound effects, I believe that his sound effects are what makes some of those iconic runs so iconic. Because, like I said, Walton understands it. And here's the thing: is he was talking about how when his daughter was growing up, how uh, she would have like a guy over that who was into comics, and they'd be like paying like Nintendo, and like Walt would come over and just be talking, and it's like, hey, how just shooting the shit with his daughter, and after Walt would leave, the friend would be like, well, who's that? And she goes, oh, that's Walt Simonson. And the kid's jaw would drop, like, that was Walt Simonson? Oh my God. And you're like, and for her, it's one of those, like, it's no big deal. This is Walt. He's a friend of mine. He works with my dad. They're friends, and he's just Walt. It's no big deal. And she she probably was talking about anything but comics with him, and he probably was talking about anything but comics to her. So that made it very entertaining. And then he told me two stories, which I found very entertaining. When John Byrne was doing the Fantastic Four, it was like one of the very last issues that he did. And here, John got the pages before they were inked, and the one eye on Mr. Fantastic was wonky. Like one eye was there, but the other eye was like too low or way too high. It was obvious. And he couldn't help himself. He goes, I couldn't help myself. I couldn't leave it like that. So what he did was he had a photocopier. He photocopied off the page. He erased the eye and then positioned the paper, the photocopy underneath it, and then light boxed the eye into the page. And John Byrne never said anything. Al Gordon, he said it was the inker, he never said anything. So I guess everything was okay. And then he was telling me another one. I think it was the Superman Spider-Man book. That big oversized Treasury Edition book that crossed the two characters over. Apparently, he was under the gun to. I guess he was working like 3 days straight, with barely any sleep. And here he was working with whiteout, so I had the whiteout on a brush, and he fell asleep. And when he woke up, here Peter Parker's face was completely covered and globbed up with whiteout. So he had to, wiped it off, and no matter how he wiped it off, it was still just a blurred face. So he actually had to go in and ink Peter Parker's face because of the whiteout. And I found that so humorous. These are the stories you don't know about until you talk to the creator. And that's the reason why, like, when I go to see creators now, I don't go up and be like, here's my books, thank you for signing, bye. No, I engage in the artists and talk to them. And I've gotten much better over the years of talking to them. And I'll be honest with you, every single artist that was there at the show that I talked to, sorry about that. Every single artist I talked to, I spent probably about 15 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes talking to the creators. And I just had a ball talking to these creators. Some of these creators were such great personalities. Um, uh, Kevin Conrad, I talked to him, and I went up to him, and he goes, you look familiar. He goes, do we know each other? And I go, I saw you, and I went, we met at the Hershey Con last year. He goes, okay, and he signed the books, and we start talking, and he hasn't done anything in a while, but for a number of years now, he's had a regular job, and he's hitting retirement age. And when he hits the retirement age, uh, he's going to retire, and he's going to go back to working in comics. Um, and so we were talking, and here I was like, how, like, if you retire, you get Social Security, but you got to be careful how much money you earn after you retire, and you're only allowed to make so much money. And after you've made so much money, for every $2 you earn, they take $1 away in Social Security. So we were joking, and I said to him, I said, well, that makes it perfect. I said, you need to contact Marvel and DC right away and let them know that you work cheap. Because the last thing he wants to do, and I'll be honest with you, I like his stuff. I mean, he hasn't. I don't have a whole lot of work they did, but what I did do, I did like. I mean, we're talking about a guy that inked Greg Capullo when he was doing the X Force run. He's let's see, I'm trying to remember. He did Val Zemeckis with the JLA Incarnate. So I mean I like his stuff, and like I said, especially with what we got going on with artists these days, I think he'd add that extra level of professionalism and experience that we all know is severely lacking within Marvel and DC. Uh, if he's not able to, and I'll be like, hey, if you're not able to, start your own book, or hook yourself up with a writer, and if you don't want to write it yourself, hook up with a writer that can provide you a good strip. If you don't want to do the pencils, there's a lot of independent teams out there that he can hook up with, and that's part of the reason why I like with going to cons gives them an able now, not necessarily to chum up and get work from Marvel and DC, but to network amongst themselves and find out, oh, such and such needs an inker. Okay, I'll reach out to this guy, or this guy needs some pencils done. I can reach out to him. Perfect example is Glenn Whitmore. Glenn Whitmore, if you look at his stuff, he basically made his living off of doing a lot of work for DC around the Death of Superman era. Did a lot of, and it was weird. You look at it, it's like he'll do like a 5 or 6 issue run of Action Comics and Superman, and then he'll flip and they do have him do a 5 issue run of Man of Steel and Adventures of Superman. So they're bouncing between the books, most likely because of uh, what the story was or the team was. But he did a lot of work for Superman. So, and again, it's the reason why I'm more prone to be a DC fan, because even he confirmed that where he didn't, he's getting royalty checks for his work in the past. So that's really important. That I think is that he's getting their DC is acknowledging, hey, he put a lot of work in. He deserves the royalties for the work he did for the money we're making off of his work. So, and I stressed to him when he told me that. I said that's the reason why I am supportive of DC more than Marvel, because of like listening to stories from Joe Staton and from Jerry Ordway, and how they would talk about how their fights to get royalties from DC, and how whenever they presented the information, DC would listen. And perfect example is Jerry Ordway said how the original script of The Man of Steel, there's the scene where there's a bartender in it. And in the original script, they named the bartender Bibbo. So when the movie came out, because he didn't have a name, they didn't give him the royalties. Well, he did the research, made them do research too, to confirm that originally when they wrote the script in one of the early drafts, it had Bibbo's name. Because they used Bibbo's name, they cut him a check. So, but no, so I just talking to these guys was so much fun. Then of course, the last person I want to talk about that I saw was Kyle Baker. And he's actually the reason why I decided I was going to the shows, because I knew some of the stuff that he'd done, and I was like, I gotta see him so I can get him to sign certain books. And when he saw what I had was asking him to sign, he was like, wow. He's like, I haven't signed one of these and for so long, and here it was Sci Force issue number 1 and Sci Force issue number 14, along with the draft by the new Universe line with Marvel. And me and him were just talking, and I was telling him how much I love the New Universe line. And that's the reason why I wanted to see him, was to have him sign those issues. And he was really appreciative, like, wow. And then he's pointing out how when he does shows, how he'll go to a certain area and there'll be like one book that he normally doesn't sign, but then he'll sign like 3 or 4 copies of that at that show. And for him, it was Avengers Annual 14. That's the one where the Skrulls lost their ability to to transform and change their shape. And he was like, wow. He goes, I've signed 3 of these today. You're like the third or fourth person to sign. I said, well, I like this issue. And like I said, when I was looking at what to have Kyle sign, the Avengers Annual was the top of the list, and the Force 1 and 14, those were the other two. And then he did ask, because I had 2 issues of the New Mutants from the sign. And he goes, why does everybody ask me to sign this one? It was issue 46. And I go, it's because it was part of the Mutant Massacre storyline that was going through, and it was the first X crossover event. And he was like, okay, okay. And he goes, what about this one? This is issue 45, which had Barry Windsor Smith doing the cover. And I go, well, I said, for most people, they're probably having you sign it because that's the anniversary edition where the border is all the different characters, and then one of the characters' faces is in the middle. I said, for me, the reason why I wanted you to sign it was because in the story of the issue was there's this boy that's going to a boarding school, and he discovers he's a mutant. And that night, the New Mutants go from Charles Xavier's school of gifted students to this school for this dance. And he's talking to the New Mutants out out in the patio or at a table with an umbrella and all. And he's trying to fit in. And he wants these guys to like him. So he cracks some anti-mutant jokes, some mutie jokes. And of course they're mutants, so it falls flat and they're not impressed. Well, he doesn't know they're mutants. He just thinks they're regular kids. And here he goes and he commits suicide. And for me, as a kid, that was a pretty heavy topic to discuss. Found out from talking to Kyle that he goes, yeah, and as I'm explaining, he's like, yeah, that's right. That's right. And he tells me how, I don't know if it was Jackson Guiche, whether it was a family member or a loved one or a friend. Apparently they had committed suicide. So it was very hard for him to draw that issue. And so they were kind of like under the gun to get it finished. But he was like, yeah, and he's nodding his head. He goes, that's right. That's right. I'm remembering now. And again, it's one of those where it's like, he was remembering and he's talking like, yep, you're right. And it just made the experience and having the signature that more impactful, that when I look at that title now, I'm always going to remember that story with Kyle Baker. So Lehigh Valley did a great job. It was a great show. It was a one-day show. It was $10 to get in. And it was funny, at the end of the show, I was at this one booth, which is it was like almost a separate room. Found out reason why it was a separate room for everybody is because it was the booth for the promoter of the show. And I'm listening to him talk and whatnot, and I just spoke up and I said, well, as someone who came to your show, this is the reason why I came. And he goes, yeah, he goes, we're just doing a one-day show. He goes, we only did $10 because we wanted the attendees to have more money to spend on the dealers. And that's the reason why, instead of charging an arm and a leg for a one-day show, they kept it cheap. And they had people walking up to come into the show an hour before the show was over. So When you listen to Vanessa, and Vanessa was right when she was talking about her experience last weekend at a con, and it's one of those where it's like the one that she went. I've been to many of those, and those are kind of like they're like they call themselves a con, but basically all it is a place for to rake in the cash for all the kids that want to go in their cosplay outfits. No, this was a show, and there were a lot of kids there dressed up in their anime costumes and whatnot. But there's also a lot of people going through there, and the dealers they made a lot of money. So, so if you're ever next year, keep an eye out for the Lehigh Comic Con. If you have the ability to go to it, I strongly advise you guys to do that. So, and like I said at the beginning of the video, uh, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to me so that way I know what your opinion was of this video. Because remember, I can't get better unless you tell me. So whether I'm doing a good job and you let me know, or whether I'm doing a bad job, I don't know till you guys say so. And yes, I am working out of my dive bar. It is a public place, so you're going to hear people say stuff that you may not agree to. But that's what happens when you leave your house. And I encourage everybody to leave your house. Interact with people. Okay, even if you're going to the local mini market to get your coffee, don't DoorDash it. Go out and talk to someone. So, guys, I'm going to keep working on this, or I'm going to work on another piece. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop working on this piece after this video, and I'll work on a different piece. But I really like, you take a look at that jaw now. That jaw really has a scarred up, beat up look to it, which really goes into Valance and how he is, the type of character he is. I'm going to need to do something more like that up here. Oops, sorry about that, guys. I need to do something more up here and do more of that of this stuff over here. So what I'll do is I'll just hit it by, just hitting it extra hard here, and then coming down here. You do that by like just varying how much you hit the dots, whether you're doing it really hard or fast. So talk to a couple other artists also, and showed them a couple of my videos for them to see how I do my stippling, and then we got in a conversation about it. So, guys, you guys have an absolutely great day. I'm going to have a great day. But even when I have great days, I know that sometimes life will be stressful, but you just take it all one dot at a time.